That's close enough to 10:01. I think we'll get going, and hopefully people will only miss my intro. So good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for joining episode 12 of our series, helping explore how tax technology can help you. Our last session focused on the hot topic of the moment, which is Pillar 2. But today we have a change of focus, looking at a new area, and hopefully an area that most of you have heard of. But perhaps not how that can actually help you. So this morning, we're going to focus on robotic process automation, RPA, more specifically, how it can help with VAT, VAT returns, VAT data. As always with these, just a couple of very quick housekeeping points. Today's session will be recorded. There's an opportunity for questions. Please do use the Q&A facility at the bottom. I'll get to them at the end. There will be a follow-up session, so please do look out for those invites for those that would like a deeper dive. And as always, we'll keep this to 30 minutes. So on to our main event. I'm Ian Bowden, tax partner and head of BDO's tax automation practice. The purpose of this series is to explore that art of the possible, help raise awareness, and help you try and find a better way. We pick a different topic each month with a different special guest, and please do check out our previous videos on our website. I mentioned today's session focuses on an area that hopefully many of you have heard of and read about, but how many of you have actually seen the practical applications of this robotic process automation for tax? Today, we've selected indirect taxes as our case study, and we've done that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, data. VAT requires access to volumes, but secondly, frequency. Where these solutions can really help is where you're required to perform a kind of high volume task on a regular basis that can really make a difference in those scenarios. And with the technology market buzzing with new solutions, it's very difficult to know where to start. On these webinars, we do like to bring you new insights, a different perspective. And as such, I'm delighted to be joined today by an organization called Cygnet. One or two of you may not have heard of Cygnet before. They made their name in India and then the Middle East before recently moving to the European market. And so we're delighted to be joined by Kul Mohan, who's going to give us some background and show us what these RPA technologies can do for VAT. So firstly, thanks very much for joining, Kul Mohan. Really do appreciate you taking the time. Before we get to Cygnet and the detail of today, as always with these sessions, I do like to provide a bit of a BDO market context on today's topic. And delighted to be joining me this morning to discuss all things VAT tech is Chris Rowe and Amit Dev. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Ian. So Chris Rowe, I'm a VAT partner, and as Ian said, specialise in technology. So there's a quick couple of minutes on this. So a very quick overview of the market and what we're seeing. So I'll start on the left then. So in automation, we're continuing to see a real surge and uptake in automation tools. Maybe if you're on there, we'll talk about one later on today in a bit more detail. But be that to kind of automate the actual return itself or reconciliations, or if you look at something like e-invoicing, for example, actually how you kind of bridge the gap in your data needs to feed those e-invoicing tools. So real uptake in automation. Data analytics, again, lots of use cases for this. To touch on three, so HMRC, we're seeing more and more digital VAT audits performed by HMRC, but they'll come in and just take your AR, AP, expenses data and run it through their data analytics checks, and then come back with all the anomalies. So we're seeing that a lot more. From a governance perspective, we're seeing businesses use data analytics to help review the return and get more insights to identify risk areas. And also cash. Obviously, in the current economic climate, cash always remains king. So data analytics is very good at identifying cash opportunities. In the middle, so compliance software, tax engines. So as Ian mentioned, lots of solutions out there for this. And I think at the moment what we're seeing is a number of businesses have implemented solutions for MTD or already had solutions in play and are now reassessing and just thinking about, have we got the best solution? Have we got the right solution? And take a bit of taking stock on that respect. And it kind of links as well to e-invoicing as well. Because again, this is really on the rise now as governments around the world try and plug the VAT gap. So it's kind of, do you want one solution where you can do compliance and your e-invoicing under one platform, for example? So there's that strategy piece to consider, especially for global organizations as well. So do you kind of have one global solution, try to leverage the data, or Do you allow the different entities around the group to have different solutions from different providers? And then, as I touched on, there's also the data piece here. So have you got the right data in your system to be able to, for what you need for e-invoicing, so to meet those regulations? Is there a gap? How are you going to plug that gap? Can you plug the solution directly into your ERP system or your procurement systems, etc.? So there's that whole piece. Systems implementations and upgrades. Got this on there just because we're seeing a real surge in these as well. I think following Brexit, COVID, and then obviously SAP is sunsetting ECC 6 as well. So real surge on that front, and it's just kind of a point to make sure that tax is fully there along the journey, really, to make sure the system gets implemented in the right way. And AI, again, AI is everywhere. It's a real buzzword, but we're really seeing this on the VAT side as well, be it powering chatbots to search HMRC's guidance, or be it machine learning to help with predicting VAT liabilities, for example. So really buoyant market, lots going on, and I'll now pass on to Amit.
Cheers. Next slide, please, Natalie. So I know everyone really just wants to see this demo, but I thought it'd be useful just to set the scene. And I'm Amit Dev, by the way, Associate Director within the VAT Technology team. So here is a typical VAT return review process that most of you probably already undertake, or your teams do. And if you don't, or they don't, you probably want to ask yourself, is that because you just don't have enough time, because it takes you so long to do a VAT return? And that would be one for another episode in terms of VAT compliance specific. But if we just take this example, so what we have here is a case where what we want to do really is review a sample of invoices, let's say 100, and let's go through some of the key aspects that you probably will know yourself, or go through it on a quarterly basis, or even monthly if you're on monthly returns, where you want to review your purchase invoices and make sure, for example, your input VAT claims are correct and valid and supported by your purchase invoices that you've received from suppliers. So what you're probably doing at the moment is opening up a web browser, assuming your ERP system is cloud-based, because most of them are now. You then navigate to their secure ERP site, log in, navigate all the way to the AP module, for example. You then go through your list of invoices one by one, copy and pasting maybe the invoice number, pasting that into your AP module report, running the report, and then out comes the transaction line, and then you navigate and draw down all the way to the invoice image. You then export that for review. For one invoice, that's probably okay, but that does take time. And when you multiply that by 100, or maybe even more, 200, 300 invoices, depending on the size of your business, complexity and transaction count, that adds a lot of time to your VAT return process, especially the review process, which I would argue is very important. And when you're reviewing that many invoices, it could lead to errors as well in terms of not being reviewed correctly. But all of this navigation steps, clicks, keyboard strokes can be automated via RPA, Robotic Process Automation. And this type of process is perfect for that because it's repeatable. And essentially what RPA is like, if you've seen an Excel macro, it's very similar, but it's better in terms.
I think we've lost Birmingham audio there, but I think that was Amit coming to the end of for his slide. So thanks, Chris and Amit, for sharing those. Mohan, great of you to join us. Handing over to you really, and take us through a little bit about Cygnet, and we're really excited to see your demo in terms of robotic process automation for VAT.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Amit and Chris, for having me on this panel. Happy to be a part here. Good morning, everyone who has joined us online. By way of introduction, my name is Kulmohan Makija, also known as KM by my clients, friends, and colleagues. So whatever makes it easier for you. I'm representing Cygnet Infotech. We are a global software organization, specifically dealing into digital transformation and as a system integrator globally. with offices in more than 11 locations, with one in London as well, while I'm situated in Manchester. Within our digital transformation offering, we focus on three particular areas: product engineering, hyper automation, and tax and finance automation. While the tax and finance automation pieces are definitely been driven by strategic partners like Video, we'll be speaking more about hyper automation today. RPA as has been the subject today. So hyper automation and RPA more go hand in hand. On top of RPA, we have our AI engine running, which makes it more as hyper automation, helping you enable, automate all sort of mundane tasks, robotic tasks that probably manually are being done today by our bots. So to give you a bit of a context, Cygnet has its own platform called Automation Viz, which enables you to create bots, which enables you to automate processes end to end. Now, this particular platform, I'll give you a bit of a context. I will not dive deep into too much of technology. We'll be speaking more on the demo and we'll be speaking more on the flow today. But just to set a context for you to understand it better, this particular platform is divided into three areas, starting from a bot designer, a bot manager, and a bot executor, which we'll be seeing today. A bot designer is where you probably sketch out the entire flow of what you need to automate. The bot manager, as the name suggests, is where you probably manage each and everything. Now, take an example. The process that we'll be looking at today will require two particular bots to automate the entire process, right? Which we'll get into a couple of seconds. So managing all such bots for all the processes. Now, there could be multiple processes that we could be automating for a customer, and there could be multiple bots in every process. So how to manage them, look at a dashboard, look at the statistics, look at the audit file, happens all of that through the bot manager. And these two particular areas are cloud driven, which can be accessed from anywhere and everywhere through a browser. And the third and the final piece is a bot executor, which sits on a machine. Now, this could be a virtual machine or VM, or probably a physical laptop or a desktop from where the bot will be executing itself or will be running through the processes. Now, coming to the process, as Amit was mentioning the entire process in terms of how RPA can help in your VAT journey, we'll be taking a very different process today for which a POC has already been done. For the process that Amit was explaining, we can definitely create a POC and help out anyone who might be looking for it. Now, this particular process is an invoice automation process. For one of our customers in the Middle East who used to receive invoices in the volume of, let's say, 500 to 1,000 per week, he had a manual team who used to first reconcile all of these particular invoices, validate those entries, convert those invoices from a PDF or a JPG that they receive from emails to Excel, CSVs, make those computations, and then manually upload each and every one of them into SAP via the Miro function. Now, what we did is created two particular bots. One bot used to download all the invoices from the mailbox, used to convert those invoices from a PDF to CSV, and used to run validations on top of it. Once this entire process is done, the other bot used to pick up that CSV file, used to put them into SAP automatically, and used to make all of those entries. So we'll look at a video demonstration of how this is done. I'm going to share my screen. Do let me know once you guys are able to see it. Amit, Ian, if you could confirm if the screen is visible.
Yeah, we've got you now. We can
right.
see the screen. Perfect.
Perfect. All right. So as you can see here in this particular email box, in the particular inbox, all the invoices that were received, usually this is how the flow is. Every organization has one particular email ID where the invoices are being sent by all of their vendors. And we used to segregate all of these invoices based on either the sender, either the subject line, either the attachment. And we separate them into folder structures. As you see here, it's in the unprocessed folder right now. And this is in particular invoice that has been received. All of this particular data is dummy data. This is not actually live data per se. This is all the data that has been used just to create this particular POC, but this will give you an entire feel of how this flows. So this is the folder structure and this is the invoice. We'll look at the invoice. Now, this is the detail that come through all of the invoices, right? What is the material? What is the VAT number? What is the sender name, date, everything. We'll be parsing all of these values. Now, this is the folder structure that sits on the machine where the bot executor is. And this is entirely customizable, but this is the folder structure we choose to create. Based on the client requirement, this can be changed. So unprocessed files is where the bot will first download the files from the email box. Then you see the process file, that is where the CSVs will be created after being passed, after being validated. And once that entire files function has been done, it will be moved to archive. We are currently showing you that the unprocessed folder file was empty. So is the archive file because the bot is yet not enabled or is not running.
This is the bot manager, as I was explaining, and this is the machine or exactly where the bot executor sits. So once you link that, you go to the association. Now this is your bot name, invoice processing, which is tied up to association, that is the machine IP. Now, once you move towards executing a particular bot, you can go to the jobs and you'll probably be seeing once we refresh that there is a new job that has been created, which is into running state. So this is the job that has been created and it's in the running state. Now going back just in terms of understanding how it happens, we'll go to the unprocessed files. Now this is the invoice that we saw in the email box. This has been downloaded automatically the moment we started the particular job. Now this is with the invoice which was downloaded. The differentiator that we bring onto the table with our RPA platform is the OCR enabled, the AI enabled OCR platform, which we call Intelligent Document Processing. It's called GLIB. Now this particular platform is AI enabled, has an OCR tech. It is able to read all sort of invoice templates. So this is template agnostic because this is enabled by AI. So if let's say you have 10 different vendors who sent invoices in 10 different formats, right? Somebody's putting their logo on the right, somebody's putting on the left, somebody's putting your invoice number on the right, somebody on the left. You don't have to train the engine. The engine will automatically pick up which particular detail is placed where, will parse it automatically and validate it. So we'll see a job is also created here at the bottom. Now, if you see the topmost job, this is processing and pending, right? So we'll also see at the timestamp what particular time it takes to process all of this. Now, while this particular is processing and pending, the idea is it is reading that PDF which was downloaded, converting that PDF to CSV and putting a lot of validations. Now, the validation could be checking the invoice number, making arithmetic calculations, whether everything is calculated right, whether the VAT number is put correct, the VAT tax code is correct or not. So we'll look at it how exactly it happens. So it will take a few seconds depending on the number of validations, number of pages on that particular PDF, but not more than 90 seconds in probably even a heavier file. So as we see, this entire process has been done. The status is now success and validation is approved. So there are two different things. One is reading and one is validating. So it has entirely read. So the status is success and also validated on multiple parameters. So it is approved. Now going back, we'll be able to see on the folder structure how exactly it has happened, and then we'll come back to the platform in terms of understanding. So as we see, this particular bot has done its job. It downloaded the email, it converted the email file into a CSV and also validated. So this is success. And if you look at the timestamps, it started at 11:44 a.m. and was done at 11:44. So nearly about 50 seconds, this entire process was done. Now coming to the file per se, now this particular file is moved from the unprocessed folder because this was done, and automatically this will now be at the processed folder. So nothing is to be done manually. Everything is taken care automated. Now we'll come to the folder structure. We'll see that file is now moved to archive, right? So because the file has been passed. Coming to the process folder and the approved, we'll see the timestamp. And this is the CSV that's been created, which will be used to now be uploaded to SAP environment and do the Miro function. All the fields that we were seeing on the invoice are now converted into CSV column wise. It also has a couple of notes, a couple of automated fields when this was created, how this was created, what particular ID received the invoice on, processed at what particular time, the process status, all of these are automatically entered within the CSV, which were probably not part of the invoice, and the invoice details are further on, as we see. So entire conversion has been happened. Now we'll get to the GLIB platform and understand how exactly it happened and what sort of validations were these. Now, this necessarily does not mean that every client have to log in and do this, but then probably who are interested in terms of understanding. If you'll also see in the couple of flags here in the validation, it says need review. Now, this is where you need to probably open up and probably check. So need review is where we probably find something is not correct as per the validation. So you might have to send that particular invoice back to your vendor and tell them to make the amendments. So we'll open this file and understand. So if you look on your right, that is the invoice, and on the left, that's how it has been converted into a textual format automatically. So the PDF was read through, was converted. And if you look at the green tick marks, that is where the validations were. So the total amount, this is the arithmetic calculation which happened. On top, you'll also see the invoice number, the invoice date, which is probably checked in terms of against when this invoice was sent, whether this is right or not. If let's say you have a PO number and the PO is also registered in SAP, you want that to be reconciled, we can also do that. right? So validation entirely depends on what your process is. The validations will be done, and if it is a particularly green one, it goes to approved. If let's say something is not right, then probably it will be flagged for you to manually intervene and maybe contact your vendor and make those amendments. So this is the first part of the entire flow. Now, as I mentioned, there were two bots. So this was the first bot doing its part. Now the second bot will pick things up from this folder structure and will put it into SAP. So we'll look at the other one now. Give me a second. I'm gonna open that up. Okay, so this is the Miro invoice function. Now these are the 5 steps this particular bot will do. First, we'll scan the folder for required data, the folder structure that we already saw, extract all the required information, launch SAP automatically, log into that SAP based on the credential given to the bot, file the Miro invoice data, and close the SAP. So we'll now be logging on to automation with the bot manager. And then again, as we did earlier, we'll go to the associations. We'll look at that particular bot and we'll execute it. So this is the bot. The second bot's name is Miro Purchase Invoice. Now we are going to execute the bot. So the job has been created. We'll go to the jobs management and we'll be able to see this is into a running state. Now, automatically an SAP window will open up. There has been no click, nothing done manually. You'll be able to see an SAP window opens up. The login credentials will be entered by the bot, for which has been already fed into the bot. It logs in. It goes to the search bar, puts in the T code, starts the Miro function, and enter the details as extracted in the CSV. As you can see here, all of these details are being added automatically, and the function is working. Now the SAP has been logged off. The entire changes are being done. And if you look at it, the status will go to pass. And we'll also look at the timestamp. So if you look at it, it took probably near about a minute and this entire function was done. So if you want to automate this, it takes about 2 bots and 2 minutes of your time. And this happens automatically. You can run a scheduler. You can run a particular cron job that all the reconciliation, everything happens at, let's say, 8 a.m. So whatever invoices you receive on that particular, the last 24 hours will be done in, let's say, the 10 minutes, the reconciliation, the validation, and also the update to SAP. I'll go back to the presentation again in terms of showing you. Natalie, if you could bring the screen up. Just give us a second. That was another presentation. So also when it comes to implementation of this particular RPA, while we are only discussing about this flow, this is a POC that we have done. There could be multiple other areas where you probably could be thinking that no, we are investing too much in our particular manpower and this is an area we'd like to automate or maybe smart automate, right? So it can be either or. You are probably looking to get rid of all the manual intervention and maybe increase efficiency, or maybe you're looking to add smart automation in terms of validations, reconciliation, or maybe getting insights or analytics out of it. So RPA can help you with each and everything, as Amit was mentioning, in terms of its own flow, right? Now, this is the invoice automation process that we are looking at. And the differentiator I was trying to explain, that was the OCR-enabled AI. Now, on the right, if you look at the screen, all the document types, these are what the bot can read, the glib platform can read, can extract information, and it uses a lot of industry standard OCR tools on top, right, to work things out. So yeah, this was a bit of the demo from me. Now we probably can move to Q&A. Ian?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kulmohan. Really appreciate that. And there's a couple of questions come in, and we've tried to pick up some of them already, but let's just kind of cover the ground. There's a really interesting one from Colin, which basically points out that he's been using this for a little while, but he noticed that if there was changes to the broader infrastructure, then he needed to be involved or made to be made aware of these. And I think that's an excellent point. I think where we've seen some of these RPA solutions work really well is we then get the tax teams involved in the broader finance function and making them aware of what impact happens if something changes in core systems. But it's good to see that people are already using some of these RPA tools, and there's possibilities for being able to work more closely with our finance and IT colleagues. And then there's another question in regarding whether this can work, whether this just works with SAP. And Mohan, do you want to give a perspective or a view in terms of whether you've used this before and what it kind of connects to?
Okay, so no, I'll answer both the questions. Let's start with where exactly this works. So it could be any of your source system. That could be Oracle, that could be CRMs, that could be your POS. Anything that can give data the bot can read through, it can work on top of it, right? Now, what we saw today is it is starting also working on just the mailbox. That was one bot doing nothing else, just reading from the email, downloading the details, doing computation and saving it. And the other part was reading it and applying it to a source system that was SAP. Now, in that case, that particular source system could change. The input and the output, these two areas can change. Whatever can give data and whatever can accept data, RPA can work on anything. That could be SAP's, your POS, that could be your Microsoft or Oracle, anything. So there is no particular limitation from that sense. But what you have to keep in mind is the source system going to give me data and is going to accept data? If yes, by any means, could be APIs, could be CSVs, could be manual entries, bot can do all of that. So it should not be a problem and not a limitation, right?
And I think that's part of the reason we wanted to show this type of technology today in a way. You know, in isolation, when we're not seeing live examples of how it can be used from tax, it's quite difficult to picture how it can be used in your environment. But hopefully today's VAT example, these RPA tools can be quite generic and can do a number of different things. The bots are just trying to replace humans in terms of some of the manual tasks that are there. But when we try to bring this into today's VAT context in terms of grabbing an invoice, processing that invoice, and there was another question around what is optical character recognition, OCR, and I think Mohan mentioned that in there. That's the ability for the technology to almost read the text and then try and make a decision based on that. Now that technology has improved quite significantly to the point where you've seen today, you can process invoices and can make decisions from there. We've got 1 minute left. Any further questions from our panel today? Chris, Amit, anything you'd like to share, or anybody else with any questions from the floor before we close today?
I just had one point, if that's okay, I want to share. So RPA, I think would, and Ian, Chris, and I advise on this all the time. We would say RPA is just a part of your whole kind of taxonomy strategy. So when it comes to invoice extraction and review, RPA is brilliant for that. But when it comes to, for example, VAT return preparation automation, we would suggest that RPA might not be best suited for there. There's other technology available. So RPA is just really one piece of the puzzle, is what we're trying to say. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's certainly got a role. It's certainly got an opportunity to help improve the boring, repetitive, and the analysis side of things. And I think it's good that organizations are trying to take advantage of this. And this will be stuff that may already exist or be used in different parts of your group, your organization, your finance teams may be using this. So this may not be alien to you. And great that Cygnet have launched in the UK market. They've got a VAT compliance tool, which is worth seeing. It's very good around the data side of things. And it's nice to see how that RPA tool could then help you almost process data and get that into a calculation engine to do the final mile. But no further questions seem to have come in via today's Zoom link. I will draw this webinar to a close there. I hope people have found that useful. Really a big thank you to Mohan and the Cygnet Digital team for joining us today to take us through their solution. And thanks as always to Chris and Amit for the VAT insights. So thanks everyone for joining. There will be an email through if you want to register for a deeper dive, see a little bit more about this technology and a bit more detail, get your hands on it, have a little bit of a play with it. We'll be sending that out shortly. Look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, and it's going to be focused on year end. And so it's back to corporate tax stuff, and it'll be a year end. How was your year end session? So thanks everybody and have a good day.